Thank you, Mr. Betts, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak in this debate, although somewhat daunting to follow the Right Honourable Gentleman for Torridge West Devon and the Chair of the EFRA Committee and the Honourable Member for Westmoreland. And I might just say that the Right Honourable Gentleman for Torridge and West Devon, I had all the joy of listening to his speech and none of the costs. And it was a startling reminder of the extraordinary contribution he makes to this House and the knowledge and farming that he brings to this place, because actually he said everything that I might want to say on this topic. So I'm going to rattle through a few of the points, also adding a slightly fishy element, if I may, to my speech. Mr. Chairman, South Devon is obviously a variety of either coastal fishing fleets or small inland farms. And we actually, between myself and the Honourable Member for South West Devon, we have one of the largest proportions of 150-acre farms in the country. And I think I take the view that what the Honourable Gentleman for Westmoreland said was that they are the stewards of our land, and they are also the stewards of our seas. These are not people who want to ruin the land for immediate gain. They want to see their families and generations to come after them to be able to look after their land and to work with it to be able to produce for this country. And the reason that our landscape in this country is so beautiful is precisely for that reason, because our farmers look after it. And DEFRA's policy has to be aligned with the fact that there is a need for productivity, environmentalism, but also to ensure that we have a future generation of farmers to look after our land and to produce for our population. Now, over the course of the pandemic, which we've managed to avoid talking about until now, it has been extraordinary to see the role of farm shops in our local rural communities and the role in which farmers have been able to play into that and producing for those infrastructures. We need to enhance that and we need to cultivate it, because not only was that creating a circular economy in which our farmers could produce for local farm shops, it showed people the true value of good, healthy, locally sourced food of seasonal variety and good beef, sheep and pork meat as well. That's the sort of concept that we need to build on. Now, routinely, I've heard the Secretary of State for DEFRA and the Minister present today talk about engagement with fishermen and farmers. The often over-quoted phrase is working hand in glove, and I think broadly they do, and I know how hard the Minister works. But that hand-in-glove approach of working with fishermen and farmers must ensure that we are providing them with the clarity and ease of the new initiatives and schemes that we are setting up. There is a litany of new initiatives that have been announced by DEFRA, but the complexity of those forms, of which I have run through many of my constituents with, is spellbinding, not least because these are small farmers who are hoping to be able to continue to produce on their land, but who are routinely being dissuaded to do so because of the complexities of even applying to the schemes in the first instance. So I really urge the Minister to make sure that when we are launching new initiatives, make it simpler, make it easier, and ensure that we're working hand in glove with the sector. Of course, we've also heard from colleagues who have spoken already about the need for on-farm productivity and better at-gate farm prices. If we can secure that local network, that local market for farmers to be able to sell into by increasing the number of abattoirs that we have that are not just in the ownership of supermarkets and foreign countries, we can therefore be able to ensure that they can get into that supply chain and improve that at-gate farm price, which is so essential. I'm surprised the Honourable Gentleman from the EFRA Committee didn't have more of a pop at supermarkets, but I'm sure if we have a longer debate in the future, he will. Now, the Honourable Gentleman for South West Devon also made the point about targets. All too often we do set targets that sometimes seem arbitrary. We have to come back with a food security report. I would echo and support his call for a 75% target on food security in this country, and for something for us to continually improve upon as time goes by. Now, it has been quite surprising to me over the time that I've been in this place to see which government departments are moved out of London to various locations across the country for one reason or another. If there is one department that should not be based in London, it should be DEFRA. DEFRA needs to be either alongside the agricultural colleges that we have in this country or in a rural location where it is working with those who are either likely to go into farming or into fishing or to be land managers or next to the academics who spend time talking on this issue. Because if we hope to encourage people into farming, we need to ensure that we're listening to the people who are actually going to be doing it And that will help the policy that we're trying to put forward, and to ensure that, and forgive any Whitehall mandarins that might be watching this, that Whitehall mandarins don't always know the right thing for rural locations and what we need in our respective constituencies. Of course, I would say that South Devon would be the perfect place for the DEFRA, but I'm sure we can all make that point later on. But there is a real need to make sure that our local agricultural colleges and those who are going into farming, those who are going into fishing, are able to have the experience and hands-on time to get involved and engage with DEFRA and the policy making. And I'd be very interested to hear from the Minister how she is engaging on that. I know there are initiatives and schemes out there, but it needs to be more widespread and it needs to be far further across the United Kingdom. Now, the Honourable Gentleman, the Right Honourable Gentleman for Torridge and West Devon made the point about international export and how we can promote British food and drink. I think we do that to a degree already, but I wholeheartedly agree with his point that we can do it more successfully. We are able to promote our produce around the world as some of the finest produce produced in the world. When we sign our trade deals, as we are about to do with Australia and soon to be hopefully New Zealand and soon to be the Comprehensive Progressive Agreement on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we should be talking about the fact that the produce that we produce in this country comes with some of the highest welfare standards and the highest quality, and it will be in demand. But it needs that financial support, and DEFRA and the Department for International Trade need to be ensuring that they are actually promoting the ways in which we can get that stuff abroad. Now, we've heard from lots of honourable and right honourable members about the opportunity here. I think it is about recognising the opportunity. All of us agree that we are moving in the right direction, but we need to seize on the new opportunities, provide the clarity, to provide the stability, provide the funding where possible, and ensure that we are working hand in glove in policy development and move it from there. Thank you.